Yes, it's time for Mark Meets. And in June 1955, Louis Armstrong, nicknamed Satchmo, short for Satchel Mouth, was one of the most popular entertainers in the world. His prowess as a trumpeter and singer completely transformed his career and saw him transcend race barriers in the US and abroad. What the world did not know was that Armstrong had just become a father, nor would it for more than half a century. The daughter born to his mistress was a closely guarded secret. Despite his 4 marriages, several long-term lovers and countless one-night stands, biographies routinely stated that Armstrong had no children. There were even rumours he was sterile. Well, an Emmy-nominated documentary film, Little Satchmo, reveals that he had a daughter, and her name is Sharon Preston-Folta. And she joins me right now. Sharon, welcome to Mark Dolan tonight. Congratulations on the new documentary, which is based on your best-selling book of the same name. I know he wasn't always there, but what are your memories of Louis Armstrong growing up?
Well, my memories were one of lots of fun, especially when I was very young, because we used to travel and be with him on the road. So I actually got to see him perform live many, many times and enjoy his show. And my mom and I were as big as fans as anybody else, but we had a front row seat, or many times we were in the back in the dressing room or on, in the stage. But it was his music that I remember most. So I would say traveling with him when I was younger, those special visits when he came, not often enough, to our home, those were special. And then receiving his letters, where his style of writing was as if he were there having a conversation with you. So it really kept us in touch. And I just enjoyed receiving them.
And those letters were very loving, very affectionate. He wanted you to know how important you were to him. Why was your existence such a well-kept secret, Sharon?
Well, many reasons. Number one, he was married to someone, not my mother. It was the 50s and a time where a celebrity like himself, African American at his stature, having a child out of wedlock was not accepted. It really would have damaged his career. And possibly if he could have gotten that divorce, or if he got divorced, because, sometimes I'm not sure if that was something he really wanted to do or said, even though he did say it and he professed it to my mother. But without that divorce, having the child was just something that really would not work for him in our society. And for my mother, she was a widow. And in those days, being a single mother was not looked upon very favorably. But she was a widow. So it always was, well, she's a widow. And the assumption was that she and her husband had the child. So she was able to live a respectable life, raising me in Harlem and then Mount Vernon.
Well, Sharon, I'm humbled to be talking to his daughter, a true icon, up there with Elvis, up there with the Beatles, up there with Michael Jackson. Louis Armstrong was clearly highly talented, but what do you put his extraordinary success down to? It has to be more than that.
It was his sheer determination. And the fact that, when he sang that song, What a Wonderful World, he truly believed that. He grew up in the harshest of circumstances as a child, but even as a young child, he always looked to the brighter side. So as a young kid, he was working at the age of 8. He brought money home to his mother. He took care of his mother. He always respected her and the family. And he was just thankful for what he had. And the horn, the fact that he enjoyed it so, he just poured himself into it. So he had the sheer determination along with the talent to make it work. And then all along the way, I would say the right people came into his life to nurture that talent.
Indeed, and it's a fascinating story, quite the career, and you know, you were on tour with him, you saw at first hand the impact he had on audiences, a very talented guy as well. He didn't really have a father figure himself, which would explain a lot. Was your dad a tortured soul? Was he a troubled man in any way?
I'm sure, with the life that he had, being a performer, being African American with the restrictions. I mean, this is a man that grew up, not long after slavery and lived in the Jim Crow South. So, he had all of that against him,
Mm.
but he was someone that, no matter what, he saw where he had opportunity and he had interest. He was the fact that he would take a typewriter with him wherever he went, and there were hundreds of people that he would communicate with and write to, and just write about what was going on in his life, and then write to them about what was happening in their lives, which I found extraordinary. I look at that, and I look at what we do now with social media, along with him always having a tape recorder and turning on the tape recorder and just recording conversations. He just had this sense of the moment.